Eyewitnesses at the Boston Marathon described the ground shaking beneath their feet. Smoke and a lot of chaos this afternoon when explosions killed 2 people and injured dozens. Rachel Silby, who's 22, was 50 feet away from the finish line waiting for a friend to cross. And basically what she had to say is, all of a sudden, I heard this bang that sounded like a cannon, she said. You could see people looking up at the sky like they were fireworks, like a celebratory bang. The whole crowd waited for a moment, and then the second one went off. It was terrifying and absolute chaos. And everyone needed to get out of there, and I was ready to just start running, otherwise I'd be tackled. You could see the panic in people's faces. People started screaming and yelling at each other, trying to find friends and family members. People started running away from the finish line. There were sirens filling the streets and heading back to the finish line. It was absolutely terrifying. One doctor in the medical tent, about 150 yards from the explosion, said he was immediately mobilized. We all went running over there, started bringing into the medical tent, bringing people into the medical tent, he said. It was not good, very bad, like a war zone. 9/11 immediately came to mind. He said the subways were immediately shut down and people were walking out of the area. One eyewitness, Joe Conway, said he saw a giant cloud of gray smoke and ran to the food court at the Prudential Center. People were running out and didn't know what was going on. I had a baseball hat on and could feel the confusion. The baseball hat fell off my head. Amanda Fakhruddin had just walked down into Arlington subway station a few blocks from the finish line when the bombs went off. As 2 trains were pulling into the station, she heard it. You heard this huge noise and rumble, and then 2 transit police started yelling at everyone to get out of the station, she said, and they didn't seem to know what was going on. Marathoners began hobbling up the subway stairs, and Fakhruddin asked transit police what happened, but they told her they didn't know, that everyone had to just get out. We heard it, and we had no idea if there was a train crash or a car accident. It wasn't like anything I've ever heard or felt before. It was like an earthquake sounding like a car crash. Back above ground, officers told pedestrians to stay away from landmarks. Fakhruddin finally got word from her boyfriend that it was a bomb. Although Fakhruddin is not a Boston native, she graduated from Boston University in 2010 and calls the city home. And she said, I can't believe that just happened. It's shocking. The first blast was reported at 2:42 p.m. near the finish line medical tent. By 3:15, authorities said a second device was reported at St. James Avenue and Trinity Place. The race was stopped about 3:28 p.m. and EMS was tagging everyone affected with red wristbands and beginning transports to Boston hospitals. A controlled explosion occurred at 4 p.m. People were running and screaming and crying in the area. College student Damlier Merrill said that there was trampling running. It was a very scary scene. Racer Jill Elaine Kazarek of Chicago finished just 20 minutes after the explosion went off. She was staying in the hospitality area about a quarter mile from the finish line. I was first in the wave, and I think most people, when the explosions went off, were in the second wave. And who didn't hear the explosion, it's kind of like a movie scene. I think everyone is just kind of like in shock. I still feel a little shaky, but I feel safe now. It's just very weird because you don't know what it is, and you're just very delusional because you just ran a marathon. Phone lines were too busy for many people in the area to actually reach their friends and relatives. And they were saying that just send texts and not to make phone calls so people could reach their loved ones. Now, Dan Lau of Boston, a 25-year-old engineer running his 6th marathon, said he was 3 or 4 blocks away from the chaos, crossing the finish line about 20 minutes earlier. Sounded like something from out of a movie. He said, initially folks were running towards a narrow fence in exit splitting over Newberry, but several bystanders diffused the panic and calmed us down, he said. My first impression was either a truck hit a building or a subway train crashed. Then when the second went off, my friend and I knew it was more serious. My friend immediately thought it was a bomb. To quote him, he said, that's definitely not thunder. Runners further back were stopped by authorities. Josh Crary, one of the 40 blind or visually impaired runners, had to stop at mile 20 in suburban Newton, west of the city. We stopped after my city After my sister gave me a phone call, said Carreri, a 27-year-old from Barnstead, New Hampshire. She said that there had been an explosion and people were running away. 2 minutes later, the race was shut down. His sister was in the VIP booth at the finish line. Carreri said he and his guide were taken in by his neighbors. Some folks took us in their home, he said. It's almost impossible to call people because cell phones are busy. Hopefully this is some sort of freak accident or explosion and not some other terrible scenario. Google document circulated on which Bostonians listed their contact information and offered up places for marathon runners to stay. As of 3 hours after the explosions, 708 people had offered up their homes. As far as not being able to finish the race, Carreri said, I could care less about the finish. There are much bigger things to worry about.